So, where did this idea that Spirited Away portrays the sex industry come from? Well, it came from the interview with the producer Suzuki when he talked to Miyazaki about the hostesses in Japanese hostess bars. He mentioned how many of them originally can't communicate with people well, but it's interesting how after they spend several weeks as a hostess, they start communicating well with the customers. When Miyazaki heard that, he was very impressed and said, "It's similar to our Ghibli. Our animators come from countryside, only able to draw pictures and only interested in anime, but as we create work together, they gradually learn how to communicate with each other." That was all Miyazaki said, but the media would happily publicize the idea that today's Japan has turned into a hostess bar or a whorehouse. If Ghibli said that would be the theme of the next movie, then it would win a great reputation. Suzuki's used this kind of promotion strategy for Tales from Earthsea. It's what weekly magazines do. I used to believe in them. As I said last time, until about a year ago, I didn't really like Spirited Away. I thought it was amazingly made, but not my favorite. Because I was completely deceived by the publicized theme and thought, well, it's about sex industry, and now I'm really embarrassed. The way Suzuki promotes is to distort the essence of a work into something that sounds catchy. For example, Suzuki advertised The Tale of the Princess Kaguya with a catchphrase, "Princess Kaguya's Sin and Punishment," and got into a huge fight with the director Takahata, who strongly opposed against the idea. Then Takahata completely stopped being involved in the promotion of Kaguya. Princess Mononoke also was originally titled The Legend of Ashitaka, and Miyazaki said Ashitaka was the main character. But the entire story of the movie was misunderstood by the audience because Suzuki had announced the title Princess Mononoke in advance at a press conference. For Tales from Earthsea, because the media had reported how Miyazaki and his son, Goro Miyazaki, were on bad terms with each other, Suzuki took advantage of that in order to get the media's attention and made many intentional speeches that the movie was about patricide, which symbolized Goro's denial of his father. It's really what magazines would do. But Miyazaki is someone who doesn't make things he doesn't know about. He has made numerous comments on how the purpose of making Spirited Away was to depict Ghibli in a book called The Great Adventure of Spirited Away, published by a minor publisher called Fusion Product. Why in this book? It's because it's the only book that Suzuki doesn't censor. Miyazaki was pretty close to the president of the publisher. There are actually many books about the movie or Studio Ghibli. Any publisher can publish the book if they don't use any illustrations, but Suzuki only authorizes major publishers like Kodansha, Kadokawa, and Bungei Shunju to publish so-called official books with lots of illustrations. This publisher called Comic Box, Fusion Product, is not at all a leading publisher, but they could publish this book just because the president was a left-wing and friends with Miyazaki. So this book is really like a miracle. So there's so many secret stories in this book, like Miyazaki complaining about Ghibli, staff bitching about Miyazaki, and Miyazaki's confessions on what he really wanted to do. So even Ghibli Museum doesn't sell this book, which makes this book unofficial because Suzuki hasn't authorized it. So, according to this book, the reason why all male workers are frogs is because at President Tokuma's funeral, there were many high-ranked people in suits, and they all looked like frogs to Miyazaki. He thought, oh, that's a frog called Prime Minister. Even the Prime Minister was at the funeral. Those executives who approached Ghibli to make money all looked like frogs. On the other hand, animators, including Miyazaki himself, are treated like insects with no respect. That's why the female workers are portrayed as slugs, because again, according to herbalism, slugs are also insects. Well, so are frogs, but anyway, that's the intention behind these character settings. Miyazaki mentions in the book I just showed you that animators' job is irrational and extremely hard. Miyazaki said he wanted to create a story where a small girl is forced to work at Ghibli. Chihiro is based on a real person, which is also on Wikipedia. Nihon Television is one of Ghibli's patrons, and there's an executive called Mr. Okuda. Now, Chihiro's model is his daughter. One day, Miyazaki suddenly started insisting that there's no way she would be raised properly under her parents. I mean, he really can't stay out of other families' business. He said that he needed to do something and suggested that if she came to Ghibli, she would become a more decent adult. Mr. Okuda took Miyazaki's daughter, Mr. Okuda took his daughter to Miyazaki's second home quite often. This was where the basic structure of Spirited Away was created. Just like those businessmen who approached Ghibli and Miyazaki shamelessly for money. Chihiro's parents turned into pigs for being tempted by food, and their daughter is taken to an unreasonable and horrifying workplace like Ghibli and forced to work there. Wikipedia also writes what happened. The original idea of the movie was that Miyazaki wanted to please a 10-year-old daughter of his personal friend. She was a daughter of Seiichi Okuda, a Nihon TV's movie producer, and became the model of the main character Chihiro. At the time, Miyazaki used to invite the daughters of Ghibli officials in his mountain hut and held a training camp once a year. He had never made a movie targeted for girls around 10-year-olds, so he became motivated to make one. In other words, the concept of the movie in Abraya is that a girl who is forced to join Ghibli for the convenience of the adults is made an animator to make anime that comfort the audience. Isn't that terrible? This is the basis. But then Miyazaki keeps on including additional interesting elements. The basic concept is like the part of Abraya made in concrete. The anime transforms from the basic concept because he keeps wondering how he can make it more interesting.